My name's Chris Gilbert and I was a project lead for Harry House. Coburg's in the north of Melbourne, bound by Sydney Road and Lygon Street, so you have lots of amenity around this area and fantastic access to things like Mary Creek, great food on Sydney Road, and it was only 10 minutes from our studio, so it was really fantastic working in the local context. The site was originally home to a double-fronted pre-war weatherboard cottage. The client wished to maintain as much of the warmth of the entry through that cottage as possible, but really wanted to produce a new lens to this amazing kind of ramshackle garden that existed out the back, which was a mix of fig trees and like overgrown, kind of multi-generational foliage really. It was super interesting, super deep, but the old house didn't connect with it at all. So the brief was to really reorientate the living space to create a frame to that lush garden. I grew up in country Victoria, spending a lot of my time building cubbies and tree houses in our small little bush block. And there's something kind of primal and childish about that element of play that you really want to replicate when you grow up. Like you want the best parts of that to come through into your everyday life. And we had a client that was interested in pursuing that as well. So the outcome is something that is quite unique to the standard kind of Melbourne like box on the back of pre-war cottage. You end up with something that's much more playful, much more dynamic. It's like you're living inside a textural object.
The front part of the house retained the original cottage, and it's not obvious that there's been a big renovation done when you first arrive. The sightline from the front door takes you straight through the extension to the garden and the fig tree, and people are immediately drawn to that. I'm Tanya, I'm one of the homeowners here. I live with my husband Pete and our 3 boys who range in age from 6 up to 16. Harry is our dog, and the house is named after him by our youngest son, who used to ask if we were visiting the Harry house when we were doing site visits.
The material selection in this building was quite important. We really wanted materials that would age well, be robust, and be quite honest, like honest carpentry, and materials and textures that had a life and had like errors and mistakes in them, because that's what kind of makes the tree house. It's not this perfect polished thing. The concrete obviously is never going to go anywhere, but also the Inax board, it's indestructible. It's actually fireproof.
So I've got Japanese heritage. The house has deliberately incorporated Japanese style design elements. Archier already used those in prior projects, and it was one of the things that attracted me to work with them. We have an old mizuya tansu, an old Japanese piece of furniture, which is quite large, and we wanted to make sure there was space for that to be incorporated into the project.
The challenge of a long narrow site, of course, is how to get light into all rooms of the house. So for this building, we kept the original pre-war cottage and inserted a courtyard between the new and old building. And what this does is allow natural light straight into the rumpus room and like deep into the main kids' living space, while also allowing the landscape to wrap all the way around the building. So no matter where you are in this space, you're looking out into the garden. The floor area of this building is quite tight. We're talking just a bit over 200 square metres. So in order to get the maximum amount of amenity within that frame or that envelope, we needed to look for alternate solutions. And one of which is providing soft netted areas in the voids rather than additional rumpus rooms. And what the nets do, which is pretty interesting, is allow you to occupy an entire space without needing furniture. So rather than a room needing to be 4 by 4 to have a couch in the corner, you can just have a 2.5 by 3 metre space and occupy that entire zone. Obviously, we use a lot of glass in our projects, and in particular this project. And we find it really helps connect the user with the landscape and the sky. These boxes are pretty unique, really. You have the opportunity to see garden and get this really great sky view factor. So the full height glass really captures both of those elements.
Another very Japanese element was the design of the bathrooms, and that was having a separate spaces for the toilet, a separate space for the basin, and a separate space for bathing, which is how Japanese bathrooms are configured.
Lots of people talk about kitchens being the heart of the home, and in that respect, this project's no different. The step-down kitchen is really fantastic because it allows the person who's using the kitchen for their workspace to be at 900 mils and is perfect for preparing food, where the people on the other side of the bench space are interacting with an object that's much more like a piece of furniture at table height.
The house has been incredible to raise a young family in. I love the light. I love being in the garden, seeing the seasons and the weather change. I love relaxing in it. The project has exceeded all my hopes and expectations. It's incredible.
I'm most proud that Tanya's happy with the outcome. You know, it's her house. It was designed for her and her family, and if she's happy, we're happy. You know, it's a family house for living, not for filming, ironically.